Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He is in his late 50s. He is an attorney, and he's sharing his story about events that happened like 15 years ago when he found his wife was having an affair. And unlike other stories, guys, when these men find these things out and they wreak havoc and all that, he took a different route in the situation to protect his kids. And also, given the fact that he's an attorney, he's seen far too many situations where the husbands are royally screwed over, the cheating wives get full custody of the kids, or it's just a very unfavorable situation for the man, and he ended up staying with his wife after this whole thing. However, the rest, ever since as you're going to see, ever since she gets caught and all that, essentially for 15 years, out of fear of him leaving her, she's been walking on eggshells with him and essentially kissing his butt because he's become indifferent. And now you're going to see in the story how this ends, and I don't want to reveal everything, but he's in a very favorable position. So he took a different route that a lot of guys do in these stories, but it has worked out for the kids, it has worked out for him, and it's definitely an interesting thing to cover. So it starts off, he says, Dear SSM, I ran across your channel and subscribed to it about 10 months ago. Since then, I've watched almost all your videos. Your channel is a fantastic resource for young men because your advice is solid, correct, and right to the point. Well, thank you, bro. I am a male attorney in my late 50s with 3 children, now aged 25, 22, and 19. My story is, in many ways, a lot like most of the unfortunate situations you usually discuss. What makes mine different in the way is how I chose to handle the main problem and confronted me. Because of my experience as a lawyer, every day in the court system, I personally saw custody placements being handed down with regularity in favor of the mothers, even the adulterous ones. As a result, I felt compelled to make and subsequently live with an extremely uncomfortable set of decisions that I would certainly not recommend for everyone. Yeah, bro, when I read your story at first, before I fully read the whole thing, I was like, I wouldn't advise this, but he, as you guys are going to see, is in a tough situation. For you guys out there that are married and maybe in a bad situation, or maybe you're divorced and went through all that, you can definitely see where this guy's coming from in terms of like, if I do this thing, I'll get these results. If I do the other thing, I'll get these other results, and why he chooses this. And let me tell you, personally, I wouldn't have been able to do this, but this guy he played the long game here with her, and well, he wins. My own personal D-Day happened 15 years ago during the fall of 2007. That was the day I discovered my wife of 12 years, let's call her Charlotte, was in the middle of an emotional and fully physical affair with my oldest child's swim coach, who we will call Barry. Unbelievably, back in 1980, when I was in high school, Barry was in college and was actually my swim coach. I considered him a friend, and I thought he considered me a friend of his as well. Obviously, I was wrong about that, and certainly paid a horrible price for trusting him like a bro. Yep. Of course, the ultimate betrayal came from my own wife. She has always been attractive, and I'm sure I told her far too often how beautiful she was. Smack. That's a problem. In a perfect world, you could tell your lady all the time how beautiful she is and shower her with attention and compliments and all that. The problem is when you do that, it starts to go to her freaking head. You want her to fish for compliments, okay? I'm not saying you can't ever do it, but if you're bombarding her with that, it looks like you're kissing her ass and trying too hard and causes them to lose respect for you. Again, perfect world, it wouldn't happen. Sparingly the compliments, guys. Remember, who do they fight for the attention and validation from? The bad boys. Bad boys don't bombard girls with compliments. The nice guys do. So you want her to fish for your compliments. Even though you want to do it, sparingly. He says, likewise, I've always been told that I am a good-looking guy. We both received plenty of attention and validation in amounts that were basically equal. I suppose that because I never acted like any of the flirtations that came my way. I trusted that Charlotte wouldn't either. I thought we were a perfect match based on intelligence, education, and looks. So we got married and had our first child 2 years later. In another 2.5 years, we had our second child, and then 3 years later, we had our youngest. Right around the time my oldest daughter turned 8, her natural talent for swimming became obvious. As a result, Charlotte and I looked for a regional year-round team for her and decided to sign her up for Barry's team. At first, it was basically just the normal swim team grind of picking up, dropping off, and competing in meets for several weeks. But within a few months, after my child joined Barry's swim team, I began to notice little changes in Charlotte's behavior. Translation: red flags. And guys, if you're with somebody that long, you can notice these little changes. Something's up. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And he's going to see this. I was so stupid, though, and I did not connect the dots. I presumed those things were not related. Looking back on it all, based on those little changes in Charlotte's behavior, I now believe that her affair with Barry lasted approximately 2 years. Oh, man. However, on D-Day and at numerous counseling sessions we attended for about a year thereafter, Charlotte always swore that the full physical aspect of her relationship with Barry began around 5 months before I discovered it. I've never known what to believe, and quite frankly, I'm past the point of caring. Well, that's good. You're at a point that you don't give a shit anymore. But a lot of times, gals they get caught. They'll reveal only what they have to, unless other evidence proves otherwise. That's what I've observed. What mattered to me then, and even now, was the complete and utter destruction of what I thought was a perfect marriage. No such thing, brother. As a husband, I'd always gone out of my way to be a responsible and respectable gentleman, putting family first and subscribing to the happy wife, happy life philosophy. Smack, smack, smack. No. I cannot stress that enough. That whole mindset is absurd. It's ridiculous. Because basically, okay, I'm going to kiss my wife's ass so much to make her happy. What's that going to make her do? Lose respect for the guy. Quite honestly, it's happy life, no wife. You often tell guys to trust their gut and listen carefully to their instincts. This advice is absolutely right on. While my wife was incredibly skilled at covering up her tracks, she could not maintain this other life without triggering some oddball feelings in my gut. On the inside, I received the signal that she was pulling away, even though she was going overboard and making it appear to me and everyone around us that we were a perfect couple and perfect family. Yeah, everybody likes to put on the perfect show on the outside. People are like, people find out that somebody knew the marriage is going to hell in the handbasket or something, and they're like, I can't believe it, they were the perfect family. Yeah, bullshit. People can put on the act. They can put on no greater show is put on than social media for the perfect family. This uncomfortable feeling went on for months and months. Then one random day, after my daughter's swim practice, I overheard Barry flirting with another swim mom who was asking him for advice about a bathroom remodel. Of course he's flirting with another swim mom. The other swim mom commented that she wished that her master bedroom was equipped with a bidet. Barry, without knowing that I could hear him, told that other swim mom that my wife had a bidet in her master bathroom. Well, how stupid is that? I mean, wouldn't that make that woman say, well, how do you know about this such and such wife having it in a bathroom? Based on the way he said it and the way he described the layout of our master bathroom, I knew he had been in it, and I certainly hadn't taken him there. I got this horrible feeling that Charlotte must have. Very stupidly, I went right home and told Charlotte that I heard Barry discussing our bathroom and her bidet, which was a horrible mistake. Charlotte had always claimed that she wanted an open line of communication, and as a result, I let her know exactly how I felt about Barry's conversation. While there is nothing wrong with honesty, all I accomplished by letting her know what I'd heard was to give her time to flip things around on me. Of course. Charlotte told me that I was absolutely crazy to suspect that she would ever cheat on me. How many times have we heard a line like that? She pointed out that I was in a profession that was full of stress, and the stress was affecting my clear thinking. She assured me that she would simply never do that to me or the kids, who were 10, 7, and 4 years old at the time. She also told me that if I were truly a strong man, I would encourage her to be fiercely independent and trust her, because she had never given me a reason to doubt her. And if I had any doubts, I needed to get some help over my unfounded insecurities. So, obviously, what happens, and we all know she was cheating. But he's confronting her on this, and she's making out to him not to be the bad guy, not trusting her, being insecure. You have a lot of stress in your job, therefore it's causing you not to think. It's amazing. And I guarantee you she did this probably with the most perfect poker face out there. That's how good these gals are. Gotta be careful, guys. They will hold on to their story until literally there's no way out, and the evidence is right there. And even then, I mean, it's amazing to me. She was so convincing that I actually thought I might be jumping the gun with my suspicions. She pulled the fucking Jedi mind trick on you, brother. Nevertheless, I still could not get Barry's remarks out of my own master bedroom out of my head. I also noticed that the only question Charlotte asked me about what I had heard was who Barry was talking to. So, when Charlotte left her phone on the kitchen counter one day, not too long after that, I decided to snoop. Lo and behold, through a message of hers to Barry, she apparently tried to delete, but not fully delete. I discovered that they'd been meeting for lunch pretty regularly for months, in several different towns. While I did not know all the details of their time together, I knew enough that only one of several investigators that our law office uses would eventually be able to piece them together their escapades. This time when I confronted her, I acted like I knew far more than I really did, mentioning that I was waiting on some confirmation from an investigator. Sure enough, my wife began to coldly admitting that she and Barry had developed a relationship, which over the most recent 5 months had progressed to having sex. She admitted that they met on several occasions at a hotel approximately 20 miles from us, had hooked up at his house, and she also slept at a hotel in a city about 3 hours away. So remember the whole you're being insecure and your job is giving you all this stress to make you think these things, and if you were truly a strong man, you would let me be independent and blah, blah, blah. Remember that whole talk she gave him, trying to Jedi mind trick him, which almost worked? But now he has all the evidence. All of a sudden, oh, never mind. I know she's not saying that they had relations at his house, which cheating is bad enough, but in your own house, in your own bed, that takes it to a whole new level. She admitted that they were planning to spend an upcoming weekend together at a winery or B&B. However, she made a special point of saying that they had never done it in our house. Bullshit. When I asked her how many times she had committed adultery with him, she said she couldn't say for sure, but somewhere between 6 and 10 times. Yeah, whatever that number is, multiplied by many other numbers, because there's no way it's just that number. Even 15 years ago, I knew to start with 10 and multiply times 4. See? She said it all started when she agreed to go to a certain dive bar restaurant with him because she had heard of the place and just wanted to test the food. But they got tipsy and one thing led to another. Well, because alcohol was involved, that makes her blameless. Always the excuse. Some of these stories start with alcohol. Of course, I was completely devastated to hear these admissions from her. No one can blame you, bro. Remember the perfect marriage, right, guys? I knew instantly that our family would never be the same. Because I didn't want to make a mistake and lose my temper with her or let the kids see me upset, I felt that it was necessary for me to get away for several days. That was smart. At least, especially for your kids. And let her worry about what's next. Let her have the uncertainty eat her up inside. Women hate uncertainty. I called my best friend from college, who lived quite a distance away, but he had his own plane. He has his own plane? Damn, dude. He was a true brother. My friend flew down and picked me up and took me away from the situation to give me time and a place to get my head on straight. My wife begged me not to go and even called up Barry in front of me to make a point of ending it with him in my presence. Even with her begging me not to go, I left in order to figure out my next move. Good, bro. Good for you. See, you need to get away. And it was good your kids who didn't do anything didn't have to see or hear all that. And I might add, now she has to wonder what's next. What's he going to do? What's going to happen? What's he going to say? Uncertainty makes him crazy. I knew that being away from home would potentially give Charlotte additional time to cover all her tracks or even undo the phone call with Barry that she made in front of me. But I had more important issues to deal with. Even if she did, you've got everything you need to know. Because we live in a state that does not generally punish women in court for adulterous marital conduct, Charlotte would still be granted custody of all our 3 children in the event of a divorce. Even worse, under the most likely custody arrangement, my visitation schedule with the kids would basically be every other weekend, alternating holidays, and a Wednesday night dinner thrown in here and there. And if we first got divorced, and then Charlotte ran off to live with Barry or any other guy, then the other guy would be around my kids far more than I would. This to me was unacceptable. So now we're going to get into what this guy decides here. And let me tell you, I mean, in my opinion, you end it. And that way the kids don't see the mom and dad being miserable and all this disdain and problems and all that. And the guy can start over. But this guy realized real quick, you know what? Even though I didn't do anything wrong, I'm going to lose the freaking kids. And she's probably going to she'll get partial, I'll get partial custody, but it's going to suck and all that stuff. And he loves them so much, he's going to take it. But you're going to see how this goes, where ultimately, surprisingly, this guy's going to have the upper hand here. This guy is playing the long game, which you're about to see. My best friend, who picked me up in his plane and recently gone through a divorce himself, was having all sorts of custody dispute issues with his ex, even though his wife had cheated and caused the breakup of their marriage. Another guy having his marriage ruined by his cheating wife. Imagine that. He says she still had made far more time with his kids than he did. The state he lived in had laws that were very similar to my state. After a great deal of discussion with my friend, I talked on the phone for hours with my own father. I made a very strategic decision to go through marital counseling, which would force Charlotte to either stay with me at home or leave me for Barry, which I could present to the court as abandonment. Aha! There you go. Do the whole thing. It shows the court you're trying, and if he's an attorney, he obviously knows what he's talking about here, and if she would take off, it could be shown as abandonment, which could help him. Her abandoning the children would be my only real chance at getting custody. If I didn't leave and she didn't leave, then I would at least continue to have my time with the kids, and I would still be the primary male role model. I thought that plan could work at least for a while because Charlotte begged me over and over not to divorce her. Well, she's begging you and begging you. It's putting you in a very good position. Now, don't get me wrong. Woman cheats, and the guy takes her back. That's going to make her lose respect for him and think, well, look what I did here. I can get away with it. But in this situation here, if she is truly, let's be honest, scared shitless that you're going to leave, and you always remain, from that moment forward, remain in a state of indifference, and have her always having uncertainty in her and all that, that could change the dynamic, which... well, watch what happens. So eventually, I agreed on a temporary basis not to. Not because I'm weak, but because my true goal was to maximize the time I would have with my 3 kids. You didn't want your kids growing up in a single mom household where, well, look at the world, look what we have today, with a lot of the kids out there, and you didn't want that to happen to them. And you want to be with your kids too, and be a good male role model. During the months following Charlotte's admissions, I discovered that the path I had chosen was outrageously difficult. Of course it was difficult. It was a roller coaster ride. I grieved so strongly for the loss of my real family that I came very close on 2 occasions to self-deletion. My father helped me get past those thoughts. The counseling that Charlotte and I started attending was faith-based, which also helped give me some strength to keep pushing forward. Our counselor was a woman. Oh, Jesus. Don't need a female counselor who's going to, well, you know how that usually goes. Who reminded me that it was my duty as a Christian to forgive those who had trespassed against me, including both Charlotte and Barry. Yeah, well, fuck them. If you're going to have forgiveness so you're not walking around with hate, letting them make you into a hateful monster, okay, but you ain't got to forget what they did. Let the Lord forgive them. Let's just say that over time I've done the best I can to do that, but I have failed. Hopefully the man upstairs will understand and give me some credits for my attempts. The man upstairs is with you, brother, because you were enduring hardships for your kids. I told my father about the counseling that Charlotte and I attended, and I also told him that I had gone to many additional counseling sessions with a therapist on my own, without Charlotte. My father knew my natural reaction onto Charlotte's affair would be to end the marriage quickly, find a spot to hibernate and recover, and then move on without ever talking to her again. Without the factor of the children, he was exactly right. But he also told me that I was the one person on this earth that would make the greatest difference in the lives of the kids, since it was now my choice whether the bulk of their growing up would be in a structured 2-parent household or in a typical modern-day single-mom household. And if Charlotte left me, then the kids might possibly grow up in a single-dad household. Well, that would have been awesome. My father told me that if I chose to maximize my time with the kids for the remainder of their years at home, I'd be dedicating myself to a long-term project that was neither fair nor emotionally satisfying. Yeah, on so many levels. He said that starting right then, my commitment to making a totally broken marriage work for at least 15 years was now my own personal equivalent to a military battle. Well, let's be honest here. You weren't going to try to make it work. It was a big show. You were staying in it only for the kids. And obviously, at that moment, you fell out of love with her and you certainly didn't trust her again, even though she's begging you, please, to never divorce her. It's done. But you're staying there for the kids and you guys are going to see what he does here. I could have done that. But then again, I'm not a father. So I decided not to move out or on my own or even initiate a family move so that the children could grow up with the two parents in the house they were already accustomed to. I could not ever allow myself the pressure valve release of having even one argument with Charlotte in front of the kids. Good, don't fight with her, because honestly, women want the drama, but also you're the man who's got to be the rock and keep your cool all the time. And in fact, by you not showing emotion, makes her more nervous. My dad also assured me that I had every right to cheat, get hookers, or hit the strip clubs, and said to me that if any of those activities would keep things smooth with Charlotte in front of the kids, then by all means go for it. Even though I had numerous opportunities to cheat, I never did. Funny how it's always the case with the guys. Even though I had numerous opportunities to cheat, I never did. One female lawyer unbelievably invited me to the exact same restaurant that Charlotte went with Barry. I declined, of course. I also never got a hooker and only hit 2 strip clubs both times for bachelor parties. So I extended the promise to myself and my dad not to divorce Charlotte, at least not until the kids had finished high school. It went against everything I felt and wanted to do at the time. There were many times I did not think I would make it work. But now that I have kept that promise and completely fulfilled it, I can see that it was the most important decision I ever made in my adult life. I'm thankful that my time with my kids was not taken away from me and that they were spared the uneven lives that many of their friends raised by single MOMs and barely their dads experienced. You loved your kids, you were staying with them. You know, you weren't going to let her raise them in this, and usually you know how that goes. You love them, so it's fine. Marriage is shit. She's a liar, deceiver, all that. But you know what? I'm going to keep her walking on eggshells for the next 15 years. I'm going to be with my kids. They're my world. And I'm going to be there for them, raise them well. And then when they're out of the house, well, now I really have the power. Thankful for the time that I spent. I'm thankful for the time with the kids that was not taken away from me, and they were spared the uneven lives, blah, blah, blah. The individual successes achieved by all 3 kids are the only reward I will ever have for my sacrificial effort. The kids do not know anything about their mother's affair and would probably not believe it if they were to hear about it from one of the few people that have acknowledged it. Thankfully, each of my children has recognizable physical and behavioral characteristics that obviously come from my genes, so at least I do not have to question their paternity. Yeah, I was wondering that, bro, but never know. But I'm very much hoping that they are 100% yours. But good, I'm glad to hear, in spite of everything, they grew up well and well-adjusted and all that. And you may be surprised that if actually you told them one day what happened, the older ones especially might say, well, I've noticed that you and mom weren't exactly close or something going on. Kids are not dumb. Kids are very observant. Just because they don't talk about it doesn't mean they don't know. He says, by the way, I transferred my daughter to a different swim team the day after D-Day. I would hope so. Within a couple of years after leaving Barry's team, she became a state champion. The fact that she achieved this without Barry's help and with me as her assistant coach made me so happy and proud of her. I'm still beaming about it. That's awesome, bro. As for my marriage with Charlotte, listen to this. It certainly suffered and never has gone back to what it was prior to the affair. I would say that we have lived for years as friends with benefits. Our sex life was impacted negatively, mainly because it took me a long time to even be attracted to her again. When you say in your videos that a guy will never get certain images out of his head, you are exactly right. Yes, I'm sure to this day you can't get the image out of your head. Oddly enough, if she's dressed up or in business clothes or seems to be trying too hard to look good, I'm not turned on to her at all, even to this day. Charlotte knows that for the most part I've healed, but that as a couple we are damaged goods. She eventually wrote me a long letter of apology, which did actually help me a little. It is strange, but because I have truly reached a point of indifference as to whether I'm married or not, Charlotte now treats me better than she ever did back when I was a perfectly behaved and handsome husband with plenty of money to spend on her. Yes, you are indifferent. You've been indifferent 15 years. You're only doing it because you didn't want her to get the freaking kids and potentially mess them up. And you love the kids, so they made it, you blocked her out, and you made the kids your world, all that. Now, ordinarily, I'm all for going separate ways, but since you felt so strongly, given your experience as an attorney and what you observed with the kids being messed up by the mothers and all that, I understand where you're coming from. But I'm just sorry that for 15 years you were with her, But it's unfortunate just how this is why, and I don't recommend marriage in the 2020s because of how men can get raked over the coals and they don't do anything wrong. They do everything right, and look what happened here. And he would have been raked over the coals. He wanted to see the kids, but now, guess what? The kids are out of the house. He could take off at any time. And quite honestly, I think you should take off at any time. And now she's treating him better because all of a sudden he's indifferent. And she knows you could take off at any time. He says she could change tomorrow, though, and start something up with someone else who gives her tingles. So with all the kids out of the house now and my difficult promise fulfilled, I consider myself a free agent. For now, instead of running away, I get up every morning at 4:30 and go swim at least a mile in the very same indoor pool where Charlotte and Barry first talking about their relationship years ago. With my daily workouts, I've taken that pool back as my own. I have a long way to go, but my freestyle life is looking good again. Well, bro, I'm glad. This is quite the story, and I'm 15 years with her after what happened. You had every right to get the hell out of there. Every right. But you would have been royally raked over the coals, and it's bullshit how that is. That's why I do what I do and talk about what I talk about. But here's the deal. You endured all that. You played the long game for your kids. And your kids, you got to watch them grow up. You weren't split up from them. They weren't split up from you. And they're doing well, all of them, which is awesome. That goes to show how much of a good dad you are. And you've had her on edge for 15 years and probably walking on eggshells with you. But here's the deal. Okay, the kids are out of the house. Why stay in the marriage now after what happened? I mean, honestly, you're not in love with her, right? The kids are grown-ass adults. They can handle it. So, in my opinion, after all this shit, move on. Will you get hit in terms of assets and all that stuff? Yes. But you're a grown fucking man. You're tough. Look what you endured for 15 years. You can start over. I'm sure you got plenty of dough. You're an attorney. You can keep on rolling, bringing the money. If you got to live cheap for a while, you live cheap for a while. But at least she's done. That's what I would do after all this, man. Seriously. And she deserves it. But the reason she's so all these years with you now is because she knows you could take off at any time. And again, remember when she was caught and she was begging you, please, please, don't divorce me, don't leave me. And I don't care if she wrote you a long-ass letter. I don't care if she wrote you 500 long-ass letters apologizing, all that. What she did, you were a great husband to her, but still, attention and validation. And again, and this was 15 years ago before things really got bad as they are nowadays. I just hope, I know you have a daughter, I hope she doesn't take after her mom in some way, but I'm going to assume probably not because you raised her well. So, bro, good story there. You endured a hell of a lot. It's not what I would have done, but I can understand where you came from. And you played the long game for your kids. You love them and all that. And I wish you absolutely the best. But really think about, you're in your late 50s. Newsflash, life ain't over yet. You go, honestly, I'd really consider cutting it off. The kids are out of the house. You survived the whole thing. Move on. Why stay with her? She doesn't deserve that. You deserve far much better. At the very least, be free, be alone. And if you take the hit in the short term because of the divorce and the splitting of the assets and all this stuff, fine. You'll make a comeback. All guys do. So just consider that. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Let him know in the comment section, guys. In his 50s, what do you think? After all this, do you think he ought to just say, all right, that's it. I'm done. I'm out of here and start over? Let him know what you think. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.